playing Will the Chill. You may also know me by my legal name, Will Braswell. And we are here today with yet another Perl Town Hall Live stream here on Facebook. Thank you for joining us today. We have quite a few interesting things to discuss, as usual. And we also have something exciting to show y'all for anyone who makes it all the way to the end. Hopefully I won't forget. Remind me if I do. So today we're going to invite everyone to follow along with us online. You will be able to see me talking as usual, and you'll be able to follow along yourself at home. So go ahead and open up your web browsers and point yourself to our website where you can follow along yourself. That would be perlcommunity.org. So once you're on the Perl Community website, you'll want to click the accessibility button, which will scroll you down automatically, and then you want to click the Learn More button, which will actually bring you to the accessibility page. Or if you want to go straight there, you can just go to perlcommunity.org/accessibility.html. So we're going to talk today about accessibility. And we have been going through the Perl Community Roadmap step by step, and we'll continue to do so until we reach the end of our overview. Then we'll do more specific deep dive talks on each of the most interesting points. So again, if you're just tuning in, please point your web browsers to perlcommunity.org and go to the accessibility page, which is /accessibility.html. And it's a whole page all about accessibility. We're going to go through this today. I also have an exciting thing to share at the end of today's talk. So please be sure to give us... Oh, thank you, Benny, for the link. Thank you, my dear Benny. And don't be afraid to ask questions over here in the sidebar. I think that's about where it appears, and I will try my best to answer your questions as they come up. So we will go ahead, and I believe we can jump right in here. Oh yeah, one other thing. If you guys want to go on a live video chat, which is also happening right now, then you can do so. It's on freeconferencecall.com. And I will try to paste the link here with more details. But the name of the meeting is Perl Town Hall, which is all one word. And you can log in with your own video stream, and I can see you, and you can even talk to us if you want to. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this information right here into the sidebar for anyone who wishes to join us live. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So everyone should be on the Perl Community Roadmap on the accessibility page. I got to make sure I'm not on the wrong page here because I've been working on this. And let's start at the top, as we always do. First of all, what is accessibility? Why does this matter to us? It kind of means several different things, so let's talk about that just briefly. In general, the most general that I've been able to get, accessibility means making every single program accessible to every single person. Now, this is yet another one of our sort of pie-in-the-sky grandiose ideas, and I know that some people like it when I come up with these things, and some people don't like it. But we're going to, as always, shoot for the moon, and even if we miss, we will land among the stars. Those of you who have been tuning in every week probably are getting sick of hearing me say that, but it's the truth, because each one of our goals is quite lofty and will require a lot of effort, but even if we fall somewhat short of our actual stated formal goals, we will still be far better off in the Perl community now than we would be if we didn't even try. In fact, the Perl community probably won't last much longer if we don't try. So I'm not here to spread bad news, I'm here to spread hope with a dose of realism. So accessibility is trying to make all of the software available to all of the people. And that really does take several different forms, and so there's kind of several different, sometimes very different meanings of what that can specifically entail, and we're going to go through that. I would say there's probably 2 or 3 main different categories of accessibility. There's people who are already having their own computer and they just want themselves to get some Perl software accessible to themselves, and normal computer users. So that's kind of the first category, and that I should say not just normal computer users, but normal computer users and developers both fall into that same category. The second category would be those who have special accessibility needs or special needs of some kind, and whether that be hard of hearing or eyesight or developmental issues, anything that creates an accessibility or a special needs situation. And there's many different abilities that humans possess, and everyone is differently abled. So we have to be sensitive and make sure that our software will be accessible by as many different people with as many different abilities as possible. That's kind of the second category. And the third one is where someone does not really have the ability to access the software themselves, and they need someone to help them do that. So you've kind of got people that want to do it themselves, you've kind of got people with special needs, and then you've got people who need help from another person. So we're going to cover all three categories today. And be sure to, oh, hello, Chris Jack, thank you for joining us, Mike Buchholz, and everyone else who's here today. Welcome. Please go to perlcommunity.org, if you're not there already, and click on the accessibility page to follow along at home. Okay, so moving along here, we're going to start with our first point. Actually, I will read this quote from Saint Larry Wall, our fearless leader and founder. This is a quote. He says, quote, "I don't know. Perhaps you should be happy that I have a policy of refraining from grumbling about handicapped operating systems," unquote. And that kind of touches on several of our categories, all kind of mixed together in there. I'll let you decipher it for yourself. But needless to say, there are what he was referring to. Okay, so our very first point of accessibility, which we aptly call an access point, is CPAN. I'm guessing pretty much all of the Perl programmers here are familiar with CPAN. This is the Comprehensive Perl Archive Network. And CPAN is the native Perl source code ecosystem. This is where all of us Perl programmers basically get together and share our source code. Now, there are code control or revision control systems like Git or Subversion, and there's bug tracking software. There's online collaboration software like GitLab or Bitbucket, or the other one that got bought by that other company that we are unhappy about. But those are for development software, or I should say software that's currently being developed or experimental of some kind. Maybe it's not stable yet, or it's not the stable release. CPAN is meant to mostly be for stable release software. So that means, for example, all the major versions of the, where is it? Perl compiler, all the major versions of the Perl compiler, was that cooler? You're going to find all the major versions of Perl on CPAN. You're going to find every little buggy line of code that I write on Git. So those are two different things. You don't want to go download the latest stuff off of Git because it's not even working right now. It's in the middle of me recoding a whole bunch of stuff. You do want to go and download the latest software from CPAN if that's the access point that you choose, because it's the stable version and it's the sort of canonical version. I don't mean the company Canonical, but I mean that if someone says I'm running version 5.0 of Perl, they probably mean that they're running that version off of CPAN. So that's kind of where the versions of Perl software come from. And Perl itself is also on CPAN, although I'm not sure that's the primary release point. I know that Perl.org is another release point, but nevertheless, it is on there. So CPAN has a newer interface called MetaCPAN, and it just has a cleaner sort of search interface and a nicer source code formatting and so forth. So most people use MetaCPAN nowadays. If you just go to metacpan.org, most Perl programmers use metacpan.org as their web interface for CPAN. Now, CPAN is platform independent. This pretty much means that it doesn't matter what operating system you're using, Windows, Linux, Macintosh, whatever. CPAN doesn't exactly care. Now, it doesn't mean that you can use any operating system you want, because, as mentioned, some operating systems are better for Perl than others. But you can certainly try. And if there are some super simple CPAN software distributions that you want to download and install, you can probably get them to work on most any operating system that has Perl running. If you're talking about more complex stuff, well, maybe not. That's kind of where we're going with a lot of this discussion. But yes, CPAN is platform independent. Okay, and when you use CPAN to install software, usually using the CPAN or CPAN-M commands on the command line, typing things, then those command line utilities go to the CPAN servers and download everything and install it for you. It automatically configures and builds things based on what your operating system is, and that's kind of where it detects your OS and does whatever is necessary to get the Perl running for you, if it can be made to run, at least according to the powers and abilities of CPAN. Now, as mentioned, normal CPAN distributions can be relatively easily built and installed. Again, you just type like CPAN-M space and then the name of your Perl software, and it will go and download it off of CPAN and install it for you. And it may have some amount of building and configuring that it has to do if your code includes like C or some other compiled languages, XS or whatever. And also it may have to like download a whole bunch of dependencies. So that could take time. Unfortunately, more complex software, which Perl is on that list, is not always so easy to download and install through CPAN. In fact, it can be somewhat difficult or problematic, if only that there are so many different operating systems and so many nearly infinite combinations of libraries and versions and compilers and things installed on each operating system. It can become prohibitively difficult. So can Perl be installed from CPAN? Absolutely. But if you're running an operating system that is somewhat less than awesome, then you may end up hitting all kinds of issues. And it's not just RPerl, it's any sufficiently complex Perl application. You may end up having dozens or hundreds of dependencies and subdependencies, and who knows which of those may fail and cause a cascading failure that causes your software not to build and install correctly because of something that someone else did in their software on CPAN. So I have pretty much stopped suggesting that people use CPAN to install RPerl because it's only ever really given me headaches and heartburn. I hate to say that, but that is a major problem right now. At least for those of us that are developing extremely complicated Perl applications, which RPerl is. Okay, so there are some tools like Alien, Alien Base. This is a really neat software that allows you to configure and build other non-Perl dependencies. So if your software requires some other things, then you can build that using Alien. And RPerl does need Alien to build a whole bunch of other stuff. So I've built several Alien packages myself. There's other good things other than just Alien. CPAN Testers is a very good thing about CPAN. It's essentially a whole load of volunteers that make their computers available to test new CPAN releases. So whenever I upload a new version of RPerl onto CPAN, then it gets automatically tested and run through a whole bunch of sometimes random operating systems, and it gets put into a nice grid view so that I can see rows and columns and which operating systems are passing with which versions of Perl. It's a very good system, and without it we would be much worse off. However, sometimes CPAN Testers crashes or goes down, and it's not being officially funded or managed by any corporation that I know of, or at least not a major corporation that can, throw a whole bunch of servers at it and make it work right. So it's a homegrown system. CPAN Testers is a homegrown system. It's very good for what we have, but it could certainly be a lot better. Sometimes you will get useful debugging information, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll get people who will reply to your emails, and sometimes you won't. So it's a mixed bag, like everything on CPAN. In fact, I should have given the preface that CPAN has quite a bad rap, or reputation, a bad something, among many Perl programmers and non-Perl programmers alike, because anybody can release anything to CPAN, and they do. There's a whole load of just absolute garbage broken code that's on CPAN and cannot easily be deleted. It's supposed to be undeletable, although there are, of course, people who have access to delete those things. You know who you are. But, the general public, I can't even easily go delete my own old versions of RPerl if I wanted to. So it's kind of not made to be deleted. It's meant to be an archive that lasts forever, which is not a bad idea. It's just that when code is so bad and so old and so broken that somebody should somehow eventually be able to vote on deleting it, or at least putting it in the archive of the archive, the double archive section where it doesn't show up in normal searches. Just one of many things that we could do to try and make CPAN or Meta CPAN better, including tutorial videos for each CPAN distribution was another idea that I heard recently from Tommy Butler and Dean Hamstead, some of the Perl admins on Facebook. But there's all kinds of different things. I mean, there's so many things that could be fixed with CPAN, it's hard to say. Hello, Alessandro. Good to see you, sir. Glad you could be with us. Following along with us at home, you want to go to perlcommunity.org/accessibility.html. The link is there, thanks to Miss Benny. So anyway, there's a lot of work to be done on CPAN, and I can't even get into all of it right now, and I've spent too much time already talking about CPAN, but it is important because CPAN is the base of everything that we do kind of in Perl software distribution. So we're going to have to get together as a Perl community and do some more work to try and simplify and stabilize CPAN, and I think that Peter Rabbitson had a bunch of good ideas, also known as Ribasushi, but I don't know if any of those ideas are still applicable nowadays. So we're going to have to address that somehow. I don't know how, but we need people to volunteer to beef up CPAN and CPAN testers and meta CPAN and everything. So yes, there's a bunch of good things and a few not so great things about CPAN. Moving on. The second group of access points, OS packages, operating system packages. So operating system packages are specific to an individual operating system. So Ubuntu Linux is one operating system. Really, it's like Ubuntu version 1804 is a specific operating system. Ubuntu version 2004 is a different operating system. They're both in the Ubuntu line of operating systems, but they're different versions. So you would need different operating system packages for different versions of each different operating system. It can become quite a chore to keep track of all of these, but that's why we have repositories that are places for all of these packages to sit and wait for someone to download them. So everybody who has a different operating system and has a different version of the operating system would need a different set of packages built for their own operating system. And right now, there's only a few operating systems that are really already having decent Perl support with their pre-built packages. So whenever I have customers, or whenever I have someone who wants to learn about Perl, I always tell them, please use Ubuntu. Specifically, I use Xubuntu. Xubuntu. It's a faster version of Ubuntu, and you can get not only Perl itself pre-installed, but a ton of other Perl software that you would otherwise have to download, configure, and install through CPAN. So it's really convenient to have operating system packages. These OS packages are definitely my preferred way of installing Perl. If I could have my druthers, I would have operating system packages built for all of the Perl software that I use. The reason for this is because it's already compiled, so you don't have to compile it. It's very fast to install because it's already compiled and configured. It's pretty much proven to work with your version of your operating system because usually it's built and distributed by the operating system manufacturer, or at least by people that are experts at your operating system. And it also, like CPAN, should automatically handle a whole bunch of dependencies for you automatically. So that's kind of one of the big headaches that people can run into when you're installing Perl software is as we call it, getting stuck in dependency heck. That's HE double hockey sticks for those of you that choose to use such language. But getting stuck in dependency heck is not very fun because it's a bunch of software that you don't even care about except that you need it to run your software, and it's a bunch of people that wrote that software that you don't even know who they are probably, and some of them may be gone or dead or moved to, Timbuktu, or not online, or not programming in Perl anymore, who knows what, and then you're really out of luck. So getting stuck in dependency heck is no fun. When you build operating system packages, you have to go through those dependencies during the build process, and you need to actually build packages for all those dependencies as well. So it kind of solves that problem in advance. Now, granted, I have gotten stuck in dependency heck using OS packages before, but it's much rarer than using CPAN directly. In fact, I would say it's 10 times more reliable to use operating system packages than to try and use CPAN distributions. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm using terminology that's the most accurate that I can. When you upload software to a development system like Git, we usually call those repositories. When you and then within each repository are like branches and so forth. When you upload software to CPAN, we tend to call those distributions, although it's usually one repository on Git becomes one distribution on CPAN. So there's usually a one-to-one correspondence there. And likewise, when you go to the operating system, we call them packages. And again, depending on how you build and configure those packages, it's usually the same one-to-one correspondence. One repository of source code can become one distribution on CPAN, which is then compiled and configured to become one operating system package. So depending on how many dependencies you have, you could end up with a lot of packages being built. I will mention that building packages for operating systems is far from trivial. I've spent a lot of time working on that myself and trying to automate it. I was able to build operating system packages for our Perl running on CentOS, which is not my preferred operating system, but I was doing that for a customer. And I had to all of like nearly 200 of them. It's like 180 something. Oh no, someone's dinging me. I have to mute Facebook so that people cannot ding me on Facebook. Okay, so if I mute this, hopefully it still records my audio. Benny's going to go check and make sure that I haven't gone silent, because that would not be cool. That would be super uncool. And she's going to pop out and give me the thumbs up if you can still hear me. Otherwise, I'll have to rewind a few minutes and restate all of this. So, can you hear me, Benny? We don't know yet. I had to mute Facebook so that when people message me on Facebook, it doesn't make noise on Facebook. Thanks a lot, Facebook. See, I'm looking at this camera, then I'm looking at that camera. It's kind of fun. Can you hear me, Benny? Okay. Wonderful. You can all still hear me. Okay. So, as I was saying, building packages is super hard, and I had to build like 180 something packages for our Perl because of all the dependencies on CPAN. And it's difficult, but once it's done, it's super duper easy to install. You just type, install our Perl, and it's just like, brrr, ding, done. It's crazy. If you do that on CPAN, it's like, go to bed and wake up in the morning, and maybe it will be done installing, because it's a long process to install our Perl. From CPAN, it's a very quick and easy process to install it from packages. Thank you, Benny. Thumbs up. So yes, packages are awesome. I do need help building some more packages. I would like to give a shout out to the FPM, which is the effing package management. That's EFFING. It's not a bad word. I would never say a bad word. But it can be frustrating to build packages, and that's why FPM exists. So I kind of tried to extend FPM to work with Perl and created a CPAN to FPM tool, which needs to be upgraded to work with multiple operating systems because it only works with CentOS right now, but I do have other OSs stubbed out, and I would love to have somebody help me with that if you want, because then we could build a bunch of packages, which I'll mention again in just a moment. But I should say that there are a few operating systems that already have a few good Perl packages. Like, again, Ubuntu and Debian, which is what Ubuntu Linux is based on. They have a number of Perl packages, module install, Catalyst, and the list goes on. But basically, this saves you from having to install those things off of CPAN, which is good because you would actually have to install them as root, and then you'd have CPAN spreading a whole bunch of uncontrolled files, untracked files all over your operating system, and there's nothing that sysadmins hate more than a gazillion untracked files littering your entire operating system. So use operating system packages when you can. My final point about OS packages, and I'm going to have to speed this up because I like to talk too much about each of these things, is that I did set up a real package repository, which is different than a source code repository. A package repository is for OS packages, and that allows you, again, to type the, blah, 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 install rperl, or install whatever your package is. If it doesn't find those packages on the servers of your operating system manufacturer, then you can tell your software, your operating system, to look at a different server repository. And so we do have packages.rperl.org, which is already set up as a CentOS encrypted and secure repository. So for those running CentOS, you can use that. And likewise, we want to set up the same for Ubuntu packages, but not just for rperl and not just for Ubuntu and CentOS. The big grandiose goal here is that basically we want to be able to build packages for every CPAN distribution on every version of every operating system. And that's going to be a giant three-dimensional matrix of a gazillion different Perl packages. But what that will basically mean is to be able to just go to any operating system, whatever, and just any Perl software, whatever, and just type install, boom, and it's done. And it's just like that. I mean, this one single process would make it the biggest difference out of anything else in Perl accessibility, at least for access points. Because then anybody on any operating system, Macintosh, Windows, any version of Linux, whatever, could get any Perl software just installed like that. And that would be really amazing. It would be a quantum leap forward in Perl access points and accessibility. So I am working on that. I've already got the server up online and the CentOS packages built and the CPAN to FPM software started. So I just need some of you loyal Perl programmers to come on over and join the project. Okay. Let's see. Welcome, Don Wallace. Very good to have you with us, my dear, and hopefully you will enjoy our talk about accessibility. You can follow along at perlcommunity.org/accessibility.html. So we have our next point of accessibility, another access point, which is containers. And I'm just going to zip through these ones a little bit quicker. Docker is the big thing. Docker is really powerful, and pretty cool. Basically, a container is a bunch of system and application software all combined together into one blob, one big file, so that you can just give everyone that file, and you don't have to get all of these packages installed and all these CPAN dependencies and make sure the right version of the compiler is installed and all of that stuff. You can have exactly what version of Perl, exactly what version of the C compiler, exactly what version of every CPAN module, and your own stuff as well, all pre-built into a container. And Docker and Kubernetes and there's other container platforms allow you to, again, sort of like with one command, download and install these containers. So there's a Docker hub that allows you to upload and download these free containers. So we have, of course, our Perl is up on Docker Hub. And you can install our Perl very easily by going to Docker Hub and clicking around on there, or just by typing one command, which is docker run -it wbraswell/rperl_cpan. And you guys can find that on the Get Our Perl page of ourperl.org. It's right at the very top. This is, again, an operating system independent sort of setup, although you have to understand kind of how it works. I have packaged all of Debian plus the C compiler plus Perl plus CPAN plus rperl all in one container, okay? And so when you download and run that container, it doesn't matter what operating system you're in, you're actually running Debian in that container. And that's why I can pretty much guarantee that it works, or why any Docker container can guarantee that it works, because I don't care what your operating system is anymore. I don't care how weird your operating system is anymore. What was it that St. Larry said? Grumbling about handicapped operating system. I don't care how handicapped your operating system is, and I'm not being rude because we are talking about accessibility, but I don't care how, non-Perl friendly your operating system is. If you can use Docker, you're fine. You can get the entire Docker container and make it all run on there. Why would you want to do this? Plenty of reasons. You don't want to change your whole operating system. You don't have permission to change your whole operating system. You're using your work's computer. You don't have a proper compiler on your operating system. You have a read-only file system. You have an operating system that doesn't work well with Perl. There's like a bunch of reasons why you may want to do this. In fact, until we have that amazing, super awesome meta repository of every operating system package ever, I'm going to have to recommend that people use Docker as the primary mechanism for installing our Perl. The reason for this is because it's just too much of a headache to use any other mechanism. With Docker, you run that one command and it's going to work, unless your Docker is broken, and then that's an even bigger problem that you need to deal with somehow there. So yes, Docker is pretty cool. In fact, there was a meme, and it was a little boy sitting on a park bench with his big brother or his father or something, and he was crying and saying something like, "But the software ran perfectly fine on my operating system configuration," and then the little funny catch phrase or punchline underneath it said, "And that was the day that Docker was born." So that's pretty hilarious for those of us that have spent years of our lives just banging your head against the wall of somebody else's operating system. And I'm done with that. If you're not running a good operating system, good luck and good night, because I don't have several more years of my life to spend fixing your operating system. What I can do is give you Docker, And what I can eventually do is automate the building of all of those OS-specific packages. But man, oh man, just use Docker. Most Perl apps do not yet have a Docker. Our Perl is ahead of the curve on that one. But we really need to get like all the other major Perl apps Dockerized or containerized so that people can have easy access to those as well. There's a whole list of cool Perl server apps on the apps page. By the way, since last week, we have a full update of the apps page, so check it out. Moving on, even quicker, our second to last access point, virtual machines. Virtual machines are kind of like Docker, but they have more stuff added to the image. So Docker is a container, virtual machine is an image. So you've got a source code repo, CPAN distributions, operating system packages, Docker containers, virtual machine images. All different terminology. An image is kind of like a Docker container, but it's got more stuff. It has the entire operating system, not just the parts of Debian that you need, but all of Debian, or all of Windows, or all of whatever. You can fit any operating system inside of a virtual machine image. And it may also contain some other hardware configuration settings for virtual hardware. So you can have like a virtual video card, or a virtual sound card, or a virtual joystick. Things that Docker definitely doesn't care about. All of that can be included in a virtual machine. So if you want to use a virtual machine and set it up, you should probably try VirtualBox. It is owned by Oracle, but it's free and open source under a good license as far as I understand. And I do use VirtualBox from time to time, so it's good software. Again, pretty much no Perl software has virtual machine images. We kind of started working on that with our Perl. Thanks, Marez. Then we went to Docker, and eventually we'll go back and update everything on the machine images, virtual machine images. But for now, just use Docker instead. And of course, we again want to have all of the main Perl apps available in machine images, virtual machine images. It's another big goal. Okay, the final access point, and we've only got about 10 or 15 minutes left in our town hall for today, so we'll go a little bit quicker here. But this is the final access point. This is the cloud, okay? So, oh, hello, Mr. Mokapati. Thank you for joining us. And Mike Buchholz says, in 2010, it works on my computer, and in 2020, it runs in my container. Ha! Funny, because it's true. Yes, Mike, that's kind of the sign of the times, I guess. And in the future, it will be my container runs on the cloud, I guess, right? So, back to the cloud. Cloud. The cloud is this big buzzword. It's all of these servers that are somewhere ethereally. We don't know where they are. It doesn't matter. I think they're mostly in Dallas. But wherever they are, it doesn't matter because they're on the cloud. And it's this happy rainbow sunshine cloud. It's a cloud. It's a buzzword. It just means cloud. It just means servers that are available at utility pricing. I mean, we had the grid before the cloud, and we had other stuff. You know, we had mainframes before that. It's the latest and greatest rebranding of the mainframe phenomenon. It's a layman's rebranding of the mainframe phenomenon. So basically, you pay some money, a couple dollars a month or something, and you get a server, and you don't know where it's at, and you don't care, and the server can't really break because it's probably a virtual machine. Remember that? We just talked about it. And if the virtual machine goes down, it can be automatically, reprovisioned or whatever, and you probably won't even notice that it crashed. So that's a kind of a cool thing about the cloud. Some cloud systems are just blank slates that you can use to install stuff. Some cloud systems are pre-configured. Amazon is probably the biggest one. Rackspace is pretty big. We have our own experimental Perl system that's called Cloud for Free. Check it out. That's going to undergo some big upgrades in the near future. So stay tuned on that one. We'll have a whole Perl Town Hall just about that when the time comes. But essentially, you can use any installation mechanism on the clouds. You can install things manually if you want. You don't even have to use CPAN. You could download the source code gzip file and compile it yourself. Of course, you can use all the ones we've talked about: CPAN, operating system packages, containers, and even virtual machine images. VM images are kind of how the cloud first started off. Like, people would build their own AMIs, Amazon Machine Image files, and upload them. Nowadays, I don't know if people are doing that so much as they're using like other people's pre-built AMIs, but you still have that capability at any time. So Amazon already has a SDK, software development kit, for Perl. It's called PAWS, for Perl AWS. And it's about 4 or 5 years old, but it is still under active development, so that's pretty cool. Thank you to the PAWS developers. My dog is barking, probably because he wants my attention, but I'm going to hope that either Benny will come and deal with the dog or he'll stop barking. And of course, our goal here with the cloud is pretty similar to what we've been doing before, which is we want to have all of the Perl apps on the cloud. We want to have all the Perl software on the cloud. We want people to go and just click one button and they don't even care how it works. They certainly don't want to download and install anything. They just want it to run on the cloud. And if you can tell your boss that your software runs on the cloud, then you'll probably get more money. So yeah, it's a good idea to try and get your software running on the cloud. Here comes Benny. Maybe she's going to let the dog in. Thank you, Benny. The dog is barking, so we have to care about the dog. Accessibility for all, even canines. Okay, moving on. We've got 2 more things to discuss for today that have to do with accessibility. That was the end of our access points. Okay, so those were all access points under accessibility. Now we're going to talk about our last 2 things, which are both accessibility events. And I'll make these relatively brief. We've got 10 minutes or less at this point remaining in today's Perl Town Hall. Okay, first up, we have what we call accessibility clinics. So an accessibility clinic is essentially an event, a get-together, a meetup type activity where you're going to bring together programmers or sysadmins, Perl people, okay, in order to do one of several things. Either work on coding for accessibility projects, like we just talked about, a whole bunch of them, or programming on, those were access points accessibility projects, I should have said, or programming on accessibility projects for those who have special needs. So again, this could be someone who's perhaps hard of hearing or who has a developmental issue, and these Perl users need to have their Perl software a little bit different. Maybe the font needs to be bigger, or the software needs to have different shades or colors. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these topics. I just know that it's important, and it's important to all of us because we're affected. Believe me, we're all affected either directly or indirectly, because we all know somebody, or we all have a friend of a friend who is going to need some special accessibility software at some point. And maybe that person is us. Maybe we don't realize it, but we're going to have an illness or an accident or just old age that you know, slowly creeps up on you, and next thing you know, you're hard of hearing. Your hearing's gone because you're getting old, and now you become a person who needs the special accessibility software. So at this point, the Perl community is not in the best shape when it comes to accessibility. I will say that among all of the headaches or misdeeds or misgivings related to the Perl conference, they're not doing a bad job on accessibility. In fact, there's an entire page for the Perl conference just about accessibility, and it's linked here in the accessibility site for Perl Community Roadmap. And you can see that the Perl conference people do care about accessibility, and I will vouch for this, that in the past I have personally helped people at the Perl conference with accessibility issues, as a good scout should, doing a good turn daily. I will also say that there have been issues that I know the Perl conference has been faced with and overcome relating to accessibility in the hotels and other venues that we deal with for the Perl conferences when they happen in person. And so the Perl conference people are doing okay on this. I'm a longtime collaborator and participant and presenter in the Perl conference, and I'm glad that they are doing a good job about that. Now, on the other hand, there's pretty much no Perl software for accessibility. I don't mean all those access points we were talking about in the last 45 minutes. I mean people with needs, accessibility needs. There is virtually nothing for them in Perl. There was a one program called P-Voice that was a long time ago. In fact, that software was last updated in 2004. So we're going on over 15 years since P-Voice was updated. And thank you to the people who wrote P-Voice, but 15 years is a long time for us to not have any updates to that or any other real accessibility software that I'm aware of. If I'm misspeaking, I apologize, and I will always correct myself if shown to be incorrect. But I've never heard of or known any other accessibility software, and I've searched for it and not found any. So that's kind of a shame on all of us in the Perl community, because if we had a special needs person come up and say, "How can Perl help me?" Wow. The answer is, "I'm sorry." That's not what we want to have as our answer. So we want to say, yes, Perl can help you with accessibility, and here's how. And hopefully the Cloud for Free can help tackle that problem. We can have special accessibility modes built into Cloud for Free to make it easier for people to point and shoot and click and have an easy access to Perl. So we really need to focus for this point on empowering people. We're trying to empower users to become Perl users, no matter what their abilities, no matter what their needs. So we want to help other people help themselves, basically. That is what accessibility clinics are all about. So our final piece of today's puzzle is another event that has to do with accessibility, and it's called an Installfest. Now, this is an installation festival, sort of another portmanteau or mashup of terms that is not dissimilar to the term and spirit of hackathons. Hackathons are hacking marathons. Installfests are installation festivals. With a hackathon, you've got a bunch of people that get together to do programming and to work on programming projects. With an Installfest, you've got a bunch of people that get together to install those projects or other generally open source and free software. FOSS, free and open source software, like Perl. So you may have some Perl programmers and some Linux guys or whatever, and they get together and they say, for the next 3 hours, we're going to do free installations for everybody who brings in their computer. And then this can be a big money saver and time saver for people that don't know about how to install Perl or how to install Linux. So you should, like a hackathon, you should try and make this a fun event. You can have pizza parties, you can have snacks and cookies and cakes and sodas. You got to have caffeinated beverages, sometimes highly caffeinated beverages for the programming side of things, at least. Also, some of you may choose to have adult beverages there as well. And, you know, there's maybe nothing wrong with that as long as you get Perl installed successfully. Maybe you make some new friends and it's easier that way. Okay, great. I'll stick with, you know, decaf root beer, but you can have caffeinated root beer or real beer. That's fine. Anything to bring the community together. Okay, that's what we're trying to do here is bring people together. So with the Installfests, I would say that similarly to hackathons, our goal should be to have regular Installfest. You probably don't have to have them as often as hackathons. Hackathons we're promoting as a quarterly event, and Installfest we're promoting as a semi-annual event, which is twice a year, so every 6 months or every other quarter. This is just because there's more work that goes into programming than installation, usually. That's a generalization, but I've done a whole bunch of both of these activities for many, many years, so I've got a bit of experience. Now, that brings us to the end of our accessibility portion of today. However, those of you who have for the entire stream may recall, don't drink and root, Mike says. Yes, that's a good idea. Root is the super user administrative account in Unix-like operating systems. And if you are accidentally, I deleted your whole partition. Oh no, I just messed up your computer permanently because I was drinking and rooting. So don't drink and root. Thank you for that public service announcement brought to you by Perl programmer Mike. Okay, for those of you that have been with us for an entire stream, you may recall that at the very beginning of this, very close to 1 hour, I said that we were going to have a special exciting thing happening at the end, and it is time for that right now. Yes, you should all be thinking to yourselves, I wonder what it could be. I'm excited. Well, so am I. We have a new project that we tangentially touched on last week when we talked about apps. And so this is a long-term Perl project, but it's starting now, and this is the official start of it. And it is contained right here in this package that we got from eBay, thanks to the United States Postal Service. And I've already rubbed it all down with hand sanitizer, so we should be good. All right, whatever is in this package is going to be a super exciting thing that may hold the keys to the future of Perl. So, without further ado, let's get out our handy dandy Leatherman tool and see what's in here. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So, what could it be? What could it be? Whatever it is all wrapped up in bubble wrap. I'm pulling. I don't want stuff to explode and fall out here. Okay, we've got a second layer of bubble wrap. Let's go ahead and dig into this bad boy here. Let's see. I'll open my other blade. And see how we're going to get into this. Oh no, don't let the air escape. You know, all that air from inside of bubble wrap, you know where that air came from, right? China. Ooh, sorry, bad joke, too soon. Okay, so here we go. We're slicing, we're dicing, we're cutting into the tape and the bubble wrap. All right, what do we have here? Are you ready to see what could it be? It is a cell phone. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have here the hardware upon which we will be designing and building the new experimental Perl phone platform. That's right, soon you will be able to order your very own Perl phone. And that's not all. We're developing a whole bunch of really cool Perl apps to go on this Perl phone using the ultra-fast Perl compiler. That means you should be, in theory, able to run Android apps, plus iPhone apps, plus ultra-fast Perl apps, all on a single operating system on your cell phone. This should be the best of all worlds. This should be the end-all, be-all, most awesome cell phone platform ever. Ooh, look, you can see my reflection here. So, we've got a couple of these. I've got a couple of units here, a couple test units. There's another one in here. One for me, one for Benny. We'll be talking on the phone to each other. Hey, Benny, can you hear me? Yes, I can. Is this Perl? Yes. Is yours Perl? Yes, it is. Ding! So, start getting excited. Start saving up your pennies. And I believe we will probably release the first Perl phone for people to bid on eBay, because we will have one prototype. I'll have one here and the other one here, so I got to keep one for development, and I'll have the other prototype. Hopefully they both work, and then I can sell one on eBay, and it will be the very first Perl phone ever. That's right, the first Perl phone ever designed could be owned by you in the upcoming eBay auction. So, this is something that Benny and I have been very excited about. We've been talking with some other important Perl programmers, and we've come up with what we believe will be extremely exciting Perl applications. And I'm going to give you one more hint, and I won't completely ruin the surprise, but I want you to think of the app that's kind of the most generic killer app that everyone uses on both Android and Apple phones, and we'll be building our own Perl-based version to power our new Perl phones. That's right, it's not just a smartphone, it's a genius phone. And you, the genius Perl programmers of the world, I'm sure, will want your very own at some point in the very near future. So, that's enough for today. I've got to go take care of my nightly business, some exercise and dog walking as usual. But here you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the most exciting thing to happen to the Perl world since Perl 5. Or our Perl, or something, I don't know. Anyway, start saving your money, start getting excited, start chatting me up right now on Facebook so that you can join Team Perl Phone. And with that, I will, as always, bid you all adieu. This is Will the Chill Braswell, and I am coming to you live from the Perl headquarters of the Perl Town Hall. Will the Chill out. Thank you all. And cut.